Welcome to the Effortless English Show with the world's #1 English teacher, AJ Hoge, where AJ's more than 40 million students worldwide finally learn English once and for all, without the boring textbooks, classrooms, and grammar drills. Here's AJ with a quick piece to help you learn to speak fluent English effortlessly.
Hi, I'm AJ Hoge, the author of Effortless English. Learn to speak English like a native. EffortlessEnglishClub.com. Go there, join, commit, do it. It's time to speak English fluently, speak English powerfully, speak English effortlessly, train your English, commit. Get those results. You will. But you've got to commit. At EffortlessEnglishClub.com. EffortlessEnglishClub.com. Hey, the new year's almost here. Get an early start on the new year. Join the VIP program. The long view. The long view. Started reading chapter 2 of our book for our book club, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Haven't finished chapter 2 yet, but one of the main ideas so far, which we'll discuss, of course, this weekend more, but I'll give you a little introduction now, is the long view. And really this connects back to chapter 1 and especially connects back to the introduction and our topic about character versus personality. Reading the title of chapter 2, it's kind of a very common idea about goal setting. Begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. What does that mean? In mind just means you're thinking about it. So basically it means when you begin something, when you begin an action, when you begin a project, whatever, that you should think about the end point. How will it end? Right? And this is a common idea in goal setting, that you want to be specific about what you want. Right? What's your end result, your final result? What do you want exactly? And it's very common in most goal setting, books and teaching. They encourage you to be very specific about this. Be specific. So don't just say, I want to be healthy and fit. That's too general, right? And the idea is, okay, be specific. What do you want? What is your real goal? What is the end result? Be clear about it. So, I want to run a marathon in less than 4 hours. See, that's very specific. And you give it a date, right? By next year, in August 1st. Right? Then now it's very specific. It's a specific date. It's very, very specific. You can measure it. All that's really good. Nothing wrong with that advice. It's good advice. But what's interesting, again, what I find with, so far at least, with this Stephen Covey book is that it's a little deeper. It's a little deeper than the usual stuff. Which is why I'm finding that I'm enjoying this book much more than I remember and much more than I expected. Because Stephen Covey's viewpoint on some of these very common ideas, but his viewpoint's a little deeper than usual. Like being proactive, for example. That's a super common idea. Super common mindset, and a lot of people teach that. But I like that, he thinks a little deeper about it. And it's the same with his goal setting, because what he's not talking about, at least not really, he's not just talking about, make these very specific goals for the short term. Yeah, we might talk about that some, but what I like is that He's taking a very big view. He's saying, take the long view in life in general. And the chapter starts with a little exercise of imagining your own funeral, imagining your own death. So thinking all the way ahead to the end of your life, something we don't like to think about. We don't like to be reminded of this. We don't like to remember that it's going to end all too soon. But then he does that nice little exercise, which I've seen other places, but where you think about your own funeral, and then you start asking questions. What do you want people to say about you at your funeral? And really what this gets to is, what do you want your life to mean? What do you want the purpose of your life to be? What contributions will your life make? What difference will your life make? Even when you're still alive, but you're getting to the end of your life, right? Your last few years of your life, maybe your last few days even. As you at that time, when you remember your whole life, you think back upon your life, what kind of life do you want to remember? So begin with the end in mind. I mean, that's really thinking about the end of your life. And then taking the very big view of your whole life. You see, what he says is, and I agree, we get lost. We get too lost in the right now. On one hand, it's nice to be aware of this moment now, right? Not be distracted. Mindfulness, of course. On the other hand, we do get distracted very easily. And so we get distracted by so many small things, so many very short-term things. It's easy to forget about the long view. It's easy to forget about purpose. It's easy to forget about character. It's easy to forget that you're not going to live forever. So taking a longer view, I think this is a general idea that goes through the whole book. Instead of thinking in days and months or even years, think in decades. Think in terms of your whole life, and think in terms of 10-year periods. A decade is 10 years. Right? A lot of people, when they think about their goals, when they think about what they want to do in their life, they often just think, they have very short-term thinking. They're just thinking about right now, this week, or this month, or sometimes maybe, this year, which is okay. We have to do that some, but a lot of people don't think any longer. They don't think about, 10 years. What are my goals for the next decade? 10 years from now, what kind of life do I want to have? Or a better way to think of it, I think, is during the next 10 years, how will I live? How do I want to live during the next 10 years? So not just the end point, 10 years from now, but the whole journey. What kind of journey do I want? So you take a longer view with your goals. You take a longer view with your purpose. You take a longer view with your decisions. When you make decisions in life, instead of just thinking, what's the result today? Will this help me today or this week? You think, what will help me most during the next 10 years or during my whole life? Often, if you think long term, you will make different decisions in your life about different things. If you're only thinking about the short term, this month, this year, then you're going to often make different decisions. But if you think about, well, how will this affect me? How will this benefit me? Or how will this not benefit me? In the next 10 years, during the next 10 years, during the next 20 years, during the rest of my life. That's the long view. Taking the long view in life. Taking the long view with your learning. Again, another tragedy of the school system. People just think about graduating, right? They go to college. They think in 4 years. They think in terms of 4 years, which is not. It's a little bit longer, but they're not really thinking about in terms of their whole life. How will this affect my whole life? They're just thinking, oh, I've got to get this degree. I'm supposed to do this. It'll be easier for me in the next few years. But they're not thinking about their whole life. 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. Take the long view. And of course, this comes back to our topic in the introduction about character, because this is one of the key things about character, is that character is a long-term focus, development, right? The character is what you are on the inside, long-term, habitually. The personality skills can be used in the short term. They're quicker. That's one of their advantages. They're quicker. They're more of a performance than who you are. Character is who you are, deep inside. Very deep, and therefore takes a long time to develop, long time to change if you need to change or want to change your character. It's a long effort. But it has deep, deep, deep and powerful effects. Personality skills are quicker because, again, they're more performance, right? It's a performance. It's much easier to perform, to pretend to be happy, to learn how to perform and be funny. That's easier than being truly deeply happy on the inside every day, right? There's a big difference. There's a lot of little tricks you can do to appear happy, to appear funny on the outside. And this is what actors do, what they're so good at. That they have many different methods. They've got books about this. They have classes about this. They train about this. All different ways to appear funny, to appear happy, to appear strong, to appear like good, powerful men, to appear sexy. That's much easier. And it's faster, shorter term. But to really be those things deep, deep, deep inside in your mind and your heart, well, that's a whole different thing. And again, this is one place where we can actually learn from Hollywood, because we can see Hollywood, Bollywood, whatever. We know for a fact, quite obviously, that these people who are so good at appearing this way are not really that way. They're quite the opposite. That so many of the people who appear super funny and super happy are actually on the inside very unhappy. We know many of the people who appear to be so good and moral. Oh, I'm such a good person. And they constantly telling us what we need to do in our life to change. But then we find out later, oh, they're actually disgusting human beings. They do all kinds of terrible stuff. Because they did not change their character at all. It's all just short-term performance. Performance tricks. So again, it's the difference of appearance versus being, really being something. Appearing is always easier than actually being. So it's taking that longer view, taking the longer view in life. this is why I encourage you to join my VIP program. Take the longer view, to commit. Okay, it's not just about 1 month or 1 week. You want to speak English powerfully, fluently, effortlessly. Well, you commit, you take that longer view, you commit. And it's just every day, every week, every month, every year. Listen to the lessons each day, with good energy, with good concentration. And you improve, and you improve, and you improve, and you improve. And you take that longer view. And it changes deep inside. That's why I call it deep learning. So it's really giving you that deep learning of English so that when you use the grammar as you speak, you're not thinking about a bunch of rules from books in a class and trying to remember all of that. It's just part of you. It's part of you on the inside. It's deep, deep, deep. It's part of your English speaking character, basically. And so it feels effortless because it's just who you are. It's just a natural internal skill that you have developed with deep learning. And it's automatic. And it's for your whole life. That's what my VIP program's about, and really all my courses are about that. So join my VIP program or my other courses at effortlessenglishclub.com, effortlessenglishclub.com, effortlessenglishclub.com. The enemy of the long view, the opposite of the long view, is distraction. Something we talked about this week. Distraction. And trivia. I would add trivia to that. Distraction and trivia. Which is mostly what the media is now, including social media. Distraction and trivia. We are drowning, right, in an ocean of distraction and trivia. The common thing between these two is they are very, very short term, number one. Distraction and trivia are short term. And again, distraction, that's anything that grabs your attention. It pulls away your attention. It takes your attention away from something good and useful. And it pulls your attention away to something that is foolish or stupid or bad or whatever. Or just something you don't want to focus on. That's a distraction. And we're surrounded by them. And then trivia is information that is not meaningful, not important, small. Tends to be things very short term. For example, gossip, that is trivia. Right, there's gossip about, is Tom Cruise gay? There, you'll see this on the internet a lot. A lot of people say Tom Cruise is gay, and there's gossip about him being gay, and then there's other gossip, no, he's not gay, but it's trivia. Who cares? Right? Is Tom Cruise your friend? Do you know him? Do you hang out with him every day? Well, if not, then who cares? It's just trivia. It's bullshit information that's just distracting. You have zero control about that, none at all about Tom Cruise and his life. You know nothing about the real Tom Cruise. I know nothing about the real Tom Cruise. It's all just a bunch of trivia. It doesn't matter if it's true or if it's false. It's still trivia. Even if it's true, it has no effect on your life. And therefore, it's small, meaningless information. And the other thing about distractions and trivia is that almost always these are things where you have no control, like the Hollywood gossip, like even like big news events. You have no control over it. So it's just trivia and distraction. It's pulling your mind onto something where you have no power and which is very, very, very short term, just right now, this moment. Right? there's so much of it. There's so many ways to do this. It's Hollywood, it's media, it's memorizing a bunch of facts about stuff that's not important. It's just focusing on, today and tomorrow and this week, but not in a way of being mindful and aware and quiet and appreciating and all that. It's instead focusing on small and foolish things that you can't control. And the two places where we get so much of this distraction and trivia are media and the schools. Media and the schools. As always, I identify these two as the great evils of our society: media and the schools. Media and the schools, that's where most of the lies and propaganda are coming from. Media and the schools. There might be other sources too, but these are the two really big ones that are very tough to avoid. Schools teach mostly trivia. Basics of reading and writing and math are useful. Most of everything else is just trivia. A lot of it's lies and propaganda. But even the information you learn in school that's true, much of it is kind of meaningless. It's just not important. So it's still trivia, even if a lot of it's false. And a lot of the rest of it is true, but trivial is the adjective. Trivial, meaning small and unimportant. And the media, I think we all know, the media is about 99.9% distraction and trivia. There's a huge amount of just lies and false propaganda in the media. Huge amount. But even the true stuff is mostly trivia. Even the things that are true, in all the lies, you do get some truth, but a lot of it's just trivia. It's meaningless, it's unimportant, it's distracting. In the fake news media, the most common technique is what are called half-truths, or half-truth, but usually with an S, who have truths. Half-truths, it's a way of lying by telling the truth. It's a nice little propaganda technique. When you lie with half-truths, what you do is you only tell part of the truth, but you tell the part that makes something look bad, right? And by only showing part of the truth, you are giving the wrong idea to the person. A common way to do this is to quote somebody, to say what they said, but you don't say what they said completely. You only take one sentence, right? Maybe they had a long speech of 10 minutes, but the news will only show 5 seconds. And that 5 seconds, it sounds bad. It sounds like they were saying something terrible. But it's because you're only getting a half-truth. You're not getting the full speech. You're not getting the full situation. What they said before and what they said after changes the meaning of that sentence a lot. And so when you go and you listen to the whole speech, you realize, that's not what they were saying at all. The news is lying completely. They do this to Donald Trump all the time. They'll take one sentence from him, and they'll say that his meaning was something terrible. But then when you actually go and you listen to the whole speech, you realize, no, his meaning was not that at all. It's completely different. They're lying with half-truths. But it's not just that, it's a lot and lots and lots and lots of gossip, and not just Hollywood gossip. I consider crime reports a lot of times are gossip because they don't give you any information. Somebody was shot, but they don't give you the full truth, and often again, they're giving you kind of a lie. They're trying to hide part of the truth of what happened. And the result is, if you spend so much time listening to that and watching that you become very, very, very distracted. You can become very frustrated. You can feel kind of a little powerless and angry because you're not focusing on yourself, proactive, You're not focusing on your character. And you're not focusing on the long view. Because the thing about the long view is, when you think about the long view of your own life, you think about the long view, this naturally leads you to focus on more meaningful things, more important things. When you think short term, it's easy to get distracted or to focus on things that are really not so important, right? Like maybe somebody you know insulted you, criticized you. And you can get really upset about that when you're thinking short term, right? You know, just this right now, this week. They said this, they said that. But when you're thinking in the long term, you're thinking about 10 years, 20 years or longer, it can completely change your view about that. You can kind of realize, well, who cares? Who is this person? They're not my friend, really. 10 years from now, I probably won't even know them. 10 years from now, I probably won't even remember them. What's important to me for my whole life? The big picture. And then you change your focus, and instead of worrying about some small little thing, some person criticized you or something, you start to think about, well, just naturally you'll find yourself focusing on the people who are most important in your life, the ones you love and care about the most, your family, your closest friends. Just naturally you'll start to focus on the areas of your life that are most important to you, most meaningful to you, the deepest ones. The parts of your life that give you the greatest happiness, the greatest motivation. The parts of your life where you can be the most helpful, do the most good. And all the other smaller stuff kind of falls away. Just becomes noise. And you just start to ignore it more and more and more. Long term, when you focus on the long term and on the deep, when you're thinking about years and decades and your whole life, you will naturally focus more on the inside, because you'll realize who you are deep inside. That has the strongest effect on your happiness, not your personality. Right? It's how you think and how you feel on the inside every day. That's what decides, are you having a happy life or not? A meaningful life or not? Do you have a feeling of purpose or not? Do you have faith or not? It's inside, it's character. And as you go through life, you'll still deal with the short-term stuff. You'll make your short-term goals still. I do it. You'll do it still. But you'll see them in a different way. You'll see them as smaller. You'll realize, okay, I want to learn public speaking. Good. Well, that's a good goal. It's a good skill. It's kind of a personalities type skill. It's very useful. I recommend it. I have recommended it many times. It has helped me in my life many times. But with the long view, I see it in a certain way. It's less important to me than my family. It's less important to me than my, inner feeling of happiness and peace. And it's less important to me than the deeper purposes and missions of my life. It's a useful skill. That's all. It's not bad. It's a positive, useful skill. But the thing about those useful skills is they will not make you happy. They can be useful for different goals in life, but they won't make you happy. Becoming a great public speaker will not make you happier as a person inside. You can be happy very happy, and never be a good public speaker. And the same thing, with physical characteristics or goals. It's great to be stronger physically. I recommend it very much. Exercising and being fit, but again, you gotta go deep inside and look at true health, right? Because some people can become very big and strong with big muscles, but they do it in a short-term way, with a short view, right? These are like the bodybuilders who use steroids and lots of drugs, and they get great results for a while. I mean, for a while meaning 5-10 years, maybe sometimes longer. But then what happens? Well, then there are bad side effects for those drugs. And in the long term, they can have some very serious health problems. And some of those guys have died quite early from heart attacks and other things like that. They didn't take the longer and deeper view of total health. They just wanted the short-term benefits of big muscles. And of course, when you take the long view, you will realize that, I should focus my energies on where I have control. I mean, you'll start to realize that with the long-term view, that you're really wasting a huge amount of time and effort when you focus on trivia, when you focus on distractions too much, when you focus on gossip, when you focus on people and things where you have no control. It's such a waste. And you'll start to identify and think about and focus on those areas where you have power and control, especially your own mind, your own emotions, your own actions, your own learning. Your own character. Also, when you focus on the long view, even when you look at personality skills, it will change how you judge them, which ones become most important, right? Certain skills in life have a very long-term benefit. Very, very long-term benefits for some skills. They will help you for many, 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 many years, maybe your whole life. Also, many skills are broad, meaning they will help many areas of your life. And other skills are less useful. It's not that they're bad, they're just less useful, shorter term. So for example, that skill of public speaking, it is a good one to learn because it will help you your whole life. It will help you in your business life. It can help you in many different areas of life. It will give you greater communication confidence, so it'll affect all your communication. If you get into business and you want to do sales or marketing, public speaking will definitely help you with that. Public speaking will help you a lot with job interviewing because it's very similar. The skills are quite similar, which can help you make more money, have better jobs, all those things. So lots and lots and lots of benefits from public speaking. So it is one of those skills that can help you for a very long time. So even when you're looking at the personality skills or shorter term, life skills, things in life you want to learn, again, focus on the ones that will have the biggest effect, the longest effect, where you'll get a benefit for not just months or years, but for decades. Your English learning, for example, you're going to, as a great English speaker, you can benefit from speaking English well for the rest of your life. With travel, with meeting people and making friends from around the world, friends that you might know for years and years, for decades, maybe for life. You can use it for job benefits, making more money, getting better jobs, your career. Lots and lots of areas of life. So it's, again, one of those big skills that has a long-term effect. Focus on those. You can learn other ones that just because you like it. Learning some other skill just for fun is fine, but overall, take the long view. Take the long view. This will change how you learn. And as an independent learner, the good news is you can choose. So this is another problem with schools that I don't like at all, is they force you to learn stuff you don't need or want to learn. So much wasted time. For example, you go to university, college. In America, we say college. I've noticed the Brits often will say university. I'm in university. I went to university. But we Americans, we usually say college is the more general word and the more common word. So anyway, in college, let's say you're going to study. I'll give you my example. I have an undergrad degree in journalism. My undergrad degree, my first college degree. But for the first 2 years of college, I did not study journalism at all. No journalism classes. No, they forced me to take all this history and I had to take a couple math classes. I don't know why. I didn't need it for journalism, but anyway, they made me do it. I had to take some science classes, which were useless. The science classes were basically just repetitions of my high school science classes. Just a bunch of nonsense that I didn't need and didn't want. And I've now completely forgotten. But as an independent learner, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do those, what they call them, prerequisites, right? They're things they require before you study what you really want. You don't need to do that. You want to learn something, just jump in and learn that thing. You don't need to waste your time taking philosophy classes if you're trying to learn engineering. Just start with engineering. For long-term benefits for your whole life, lifelong benefits, those big character habits or skills or characteristics, those are the most powerful of all. I'll give you an example. Self-discipline. The general quality, value, ability of self-discipline. The ability to make yourself do things that you know you should do. That's what self-discipline is, right? It's like, okay, I want to do this, I should do this, I know this is a good thing to do, and then you do it. That's self-discipline, especially things that are difficult, especially things that in the short term are not fun, not pleasant, maybe even painful a little bit, or uncomfortable, but that will give you great benefits later. Exercise is a good example of that. Self-discipline is a kind of a master characteristic, right? You can see that self-discipline will give you huge benefits in life because it will help everything. Anything you want to learn in life, anything you want to do in life, anything you want to accomplish in life will be easier with self-discipline. Self-discipline will help you with your health and your fitness. Self-discipline will help you with your relationships. Self-discipline will help you learning, independent learning, anything at all, any skill. Self-discipline will help you in your spiritual life. Every single area of life will benefit from self-discipline. So you can see, well, if you spend time developing your self-discipline and you work on that as a character trait, it's going to have tremendous long-term benefits. That's taking the long view. It's like investing in business, investing for the long term. So how do you do it? Basically, you just turn off the noise. That's the first thing. It's really just a couple daily habits, and you can change your view to a longer view. And the first one is turn off the noise, the distractions, the trivia. You got to turn that stuff off. It's, I know, I watch a video sometimes in the evening. Usually I do. I want to relax a little at night. I watch a comedy show, makes me laugh and puts me in a good mood at night, and that's okay. That's no problem with that. And of course, we can all do that and enjoy it. But number one, choose carefully. Try to choose positive things. For entertainment, you got to be very careful now. So careful. So much of it's negative. So much of it has political messages and propaganda and lies. But just be careful. I think comedies are often nice. Just they make you laugh and feel good. So it's okay, but just limit it. Limit the distractions. That's all. A couple hours in the evening is no big deal, but 8 hours a day starts to become a problem. Especially if you're checking your phone constantly for social media messages, and then you're listening to music everywhere you go, and it's just constant distractions all the time. Just be careful. And so choose positive media as much as you can. Like this podcast, I hope. I'm trying to give you positive messages, useful messages with a longer view. So listen to the podcast as much as you can. Listen to the lessons when you join the VIP program or another course. And when you choose other entertainment media, try to choose things that are positive and avoid mostly the negative distractions, gossips, that kind of stuff. Turn the noise down. And the second thing I recommend is that every single day, as a daily habit, have some time in your life, 30 minutes maybe, I don't know, where you sit down and you think about the long term of your life. Think about the long term of your life. The big picture. We could call it that. The big picture, right? Not just the little small, just today and how you're busy. It's easy to be so busy. I got to do this. I got to go here. Oh, I got to finish this project at work. And the kids are really, I got to take the kids here and do all this. Just find 30 minutes of quiet time each day and that's it. Just think about it. Just think about the next decade. What kind of life do you want to live during the next 10 years? And think about your whole life. What kind of life do you want to live from now to the end? What kind of person do you want to be from now to the end? And you just take 30 minutes. You can sit. I usually do it at a coffee shop. I have my little habit. I go to a coffee shop. And at the coffee shop, I'll think about this podcast and this show, and I'll do some other work. But before I do my work, I always sit, drink the coffee, and I'll just sit down and just think about the long view, of my life specifically. And I just do it every day, almost every day. It's just a habit. I'll just think about it, and it's a great way to kind of reset. And sometimes I'll realize, I'm getting distracted by some trivial nonsense, some stuff that's not important. And I need to refocus on what is important. And it's just a little reminder for me every day to keep me focused on the biggest things in my life, the most important things, to keep me focused on the longer view. It's very, very powerful. It's very, very useful, and I highly recommend it. As I've done this has been a habit of mine now for many years. Probably 15 years, 20 years I've been doing this. And from the point when I started 15, 20 years ago until now, it has helped me to have a happier and happier and happier life. Many of the crazy things I did in my life, what seemed crazy in the short term, were because of this habit. Because I was thinking long term. Right? When I lived in my car, for example. Well, short term, it seemed a little crazy thing to do. Why live in a car in the middle of the summer? That seems crazy. No air conditioning, mosquitoes bite you. No one could understand it. I didn't have to do it. I had enough money. I didn't have to do that. But I had a longer term view. My longer view was based on character. I wanted to live a simpler life. I wanted to get more self-discipline, change myself on the inside, to live a more simple life, to need less material things, less money, and to be happy living a very, very simple life. And also at that time, I wanted to test it. I wanted to see, because a lot of famous people, like Thoreau, Gandhi, Buddha, I mean, all the prophets, really, when you look at the different religions, live quite simply. And they all said, well, this is a way to greater happiness. It sounded good, but I wanted to test it myself and see, is this true, really? Can you be happier with much less? Living with much less? And I found out, yes, it was true. If you do it right, if you do it well, if you do it with a good mindset, it does lead to greater happiness, because it leads to greater peace of mind, we say, right? A more peaceful mind. And it leads to much more freedom. But that was taking the long view. When I decided to do that at that time, it was because I was thinking long term, not just right now. If I was thinking short term, I would not have done it, because it was potentially uncomfortable. It was unknown. I could have just stayed in a normal apartment and been, safer, more comfortable, less risk. So you can see you'll make different decisions when you start thinking longer term, when you're looking at the bigger picture of your life. It will lead you into a different direction. If you get lost in being busy every day and you're not thinking of the big picture enough, then it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to get pulled into a different direction in your life, a direction that goes somewhere you really don't want to go, that will lead you to a kind of life you really don't want, and that will lead you to less happiness. So do this every day. I make it a ritual, right? It's something. It's the whole thing. Like I said, for me, it's connected to going to a coffee shop. I sit down. It's a very calm time for me. Sit down at the coffee shop, sip the coffee, enjoy my coffee. I usually have a little notebook with me, so I'll write notes sometimes. Just notes to myself, just to get me thinking. And then I just think about my life. Bigger view, longer view. And often, nothing changes much, because I'm doing it every day. But it's okay. I'm going to write down a couple notes, got a few thoughts. And then that's it. It only takes about 30 minutes, usually. And then I move on and I focus on work, or I read a book, or I do other things. Sometimes in my life, if big changes are happening, or there's some big challenges in my life, then maybe I'll have to do this much longer than 30 minutes. But often when things are just kind of normal, 30 minutes is enough, but I still do it every day. And I encourage you to do the same. Take that longer view in your life, and you got to make it a habit to do it. It's not just do it once. It's a daily thing. Each time you make a decision, even if it's a short-term thing, compare it to your long view. Think about the long-term effects. We'll talk more about this, of course, on the weekend when we go to chapter 2 of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And there's more in the chapter, more than just this. But these are good thoughts. Taking that longer view. Seeing the big picture of your life. Join my VIP program. Commit to my VIP program. The big picture is you will speak fluently. You will speak confidently. You will speak English effortlessly. When you really commit to that program for the long view. Join and commit today at effortlessenglishclub.com. Go to effortlessenglishclub.com. Go now to effortlessenglishclub.com.